This is a Phantom Thoughts RPG a Day 2025 episode. For this year, for RPG a Day, I will attempt to use the prompts to create elements of an adventure module. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have everything you need that you put together party characters and go on an adventure. RPG a Day 2025, Day 17, Renew. Now, renewal is always in RPG terms would be to regain resource or resources. Things like spells, charges in magic items, rations in water, rest, health, tools, weapons, both in terms of number in expendable weapons like arrows and crossbow bolts, or repairing things like weapons and armor to renew them, to make them more useful again. And this is something that can be done by means that are both magic and mundane, simple repair, taking time to rest, going out and buying more resources, renewing your party, renewing your expedition to continue with your adventure. In old school styles of play, depletion of resources is a big part of the gameplay and creative use of those resources, and having a diversity of resources available to you. So that's a big push and pull within the campaign, when the party will have opportunities to stop and renew themselves and renew their numbers if they have to recruit, renew their resources logistically so that they can continue on with the expedition. And it's a matter of, is there a time, a place, an opportunity to renew oneself to successfully complete your mission, your quest, your goals as individuals and as a party. So in terms of the party in this adventure, there are several opportunities they'll probably have to renew themselves. Of course, the city itself, in the city state that they will be starting the adventure in, there'll be opportunity to renew themselves there, to renew all their resources. Traveling with the caravan, there'll be some camps along the caravan's travels as they take their time moving through the wilderness. Although these are going to be some insecure locations, because the Lamia Noble has not really necessarily planned for their safety, as we've rolled up before. And so this could result in some loss of sleep if they have several random encounters during the night or something like that. They're going to deplete themselves in terms of weapons, possibly with interactions that they have, and of course they're going to use up some of their food stocks. But they should have at least some opportunities within their travels to rest and renew things like spells, and just getting their vigor for the day by getting some sleep. And then, of course, once they reach the lair, they will probably have to find locations in the lair where, perhaps through random chance, perhaps running across the remains of previous expeditions or previous inhabitants, they run across resources. But safety is going to be a challenge in the lair, because we know they're a powerful creature or creatures that drove the Lamia Noble off. So I thought it would be interesting at first to roll up some aspects of the city. I'm going to be using the campaign generator from Arcapane of RPGaDay that I found on Drive-Thru RPG, and there's a way to roll up. So there's some tables to roll up a community on a community table, to get some different aspects of this city that the PCs are going to be starting off in. And it's simply some D6 tables. So I get my trusty D6 out and see what we've got here. The central structure of the city state here is a castle or fortification. So a castle or fortification. And then the main construction type that is used in this area is quarried stone. So quarried stone. And any structural oddities are there, if any. And we get, it's in an unusual location. So we know it's located at the nexus of some rivers along the coastline. And so perhaps there's something like a giant waterfall where it plummets to the ground before flowing out to sea, one or more of the rivers, or where they converge. The population, what is the population like? What's the size? And it is a medium-sized, homogeneous population. So not a great polyglot of cultures going on, even though it is a trading hub, which is interesting. Or perhaps it means that it's not a diverse group of races. There's not a lot of dwarves, elves, halflings, and such along the way. Art and architecture, and this table can also apparently be used by clothing. We get statues, carvings, and monoliths, many or one huge. And this could perhaps play into a rival faction for the god that the Lamian noble is trying to bring back to this plane. Perhaps there's a huge monolith of some sort to some other god. And then clothing can also be used for art and architecture, so two tables that can be related. We get, it's just average everyday clothing that you see. Very bland, very generic. Religious belief. So this will be interesting to roll on. We get animism. Animism as a religious belief. And that's the belief that all objects, locations, people, what have you, all have a spiritual context to them. They're spirits of the rocks. They're spirits of buildings. They're spirits perhaps of art pieces. And it's more about the local spirits that you have around you and interact with on a daily basis than larger agglomerations of gods that control, on a larger scale. I'm going to skip rolling on the government table because we've established that previously with the roll about the mayor. But we will roll on law and order. And we get it's a balanced law and order. Other potential answers here, roles would have been might makes right, oppressive, vendetta. So just a balanced approach to governance. Trade and diplomacy. Let's roll on here and see what we get here. We get dominant tribute power. So a powerful city-state separate from other organizations, as we've established before. Primary entertainment. Primary entertainment are theatrical performances. And then the last table, which is other, which just gives kind of a starting point to some things. So let's roll on this table and see what we get. We got utopia. It's a utopia, apparently. And in this context, I think that means it's very rich city-state where all the needs and even most of the wants of the people that live there are met. So it's very, very powerful, very influential, has tribute power over a lot of its trading partners, and in general has a strong influence in the area. So the other part of Renew, that was Renew to establish what opportunities that the players might have in the city, what type of city it is. So now we're going to go to the sort of other half of what could be this adventure, the Lamian Noble's lair, former lair. And what I think I'll do is last episode I talked about there were 4 distinct possibilities for creatures that would be in the lair. Lawful good creatures looking to oppose the influence of the chaotic evil Lamian Noble, evil creature rivals, creatures from the plains of the earth, and powerful but limited intelligence creatures. Since in a previous episode I drew to try to put together what the Lamian Noble's lair looked like, I ended up drawing 7 cards before getting to the location where the Lost Gods artifacts are, that when drawing from a deck of side quests with maps, I'm going to roll once for each of those cards to determine what types of creatures are in that area of those 4 groups. So first, we have a 3, which on my little table here is Plains of Earth. And then we have a 1, that's Lawful Good Creatures. And then we have Powerful but Limited Intelligence Creatures, which is like the Zorn, the Purple Worm type. Then another one for the Lawful Good Creatures. And then another one for the Plane of Earth creatures. And then another one of the Plane of Earth creatures. And then finally, at the location of the God's artifacts, a evil rival. So, good mix of creatures, some very powerful opponents for the PCs if they've taken on this quest, this mission from the Lamia Noble, and some challenges to be overcome and to find some places to renew. Try to find a safe place to renew oneself, or to use some resources perhaps that are already in the location to renew themselves for oncoming challenges. So thank you for listening. The opening theme of this podcast was Strength of the Titans, and the closing music is Late Out Radio, both from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you have any thoughts or feedback, you can get in touch with me by leaving me a voicemail on my Google Voice number, 864-209-1441. That's 864-209-1441. Or through SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. That's www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. Or you can send me a message or an audio file on Discord, where I can be found the Pink Phantom, or through email, phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. That's phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. I don't have to play or read your feedback on the podcast if that is not your preference. Just let me know.